Take care of that shit. This thing gonna cut off on me. Big long, that's for sure. All right, let's get started. Alrighty. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. I didn't put it on there, but this is another morning sports bite. Give you my takes on what I see that's going on around the sports world. NFL just wrapped up their third day of free agency, fourth day. A lot of interesting signings, a lot of players taking shots at their old teams on the way out the door. I don't know if that's a classy act or not, but that's what they're doing with DeMarcus Lawrence leaving out of the Cowboys for the Seahawks, saying some very uninteresting things about Dallas. But what's the point? You don't want to play with them anymore? Go somewhere else. That's what they're doing. But the NFL, as always, to me, is going to out-trump basketball because basketball, again, is something to do until football comes back around. So, again, in starting out, I've been dealing with these allergies with all this tree pollen going on around here. It's killing me. But when it gets too bad, I got me a secret weapon. And if you have allergies like myself, go down to Walmart and grab me some of these Equate pills, man. These Loratadine 10 milligram allergy pills, they'll knock you out. But you feel a whole lot better. And most of that allergy issue you're going to have is going to be out the window. So if you got allergy problems like me, go get you some of them Loratadine pills, man. And again, I apologize for any sniffling and wheezing I might do during this short broadcast. Start out with the obvious. Steph Curry last night hit his 4,000th three-pointer. 4,000 three-pointers. That means he's got 12,000 points strictly from the three-point line in his NBA career. He still has several years left in him. And the way that the guy can shoot, you wonder how high can this three-point record reach. Now, he passed it a couple years ago, passed Ray Allen at 29.73, I believe it was. And now he's got well over 1,000 past that. I know James Harden was up there pretty good, but he's still good 800-900 away from Curry. So the question is, how high can Curry set this record? You would think that teams will try to stop Curry from shooting from all different directions. The Kings came up with some kind of gimmicky defense that was clearly geared to slow Curry down. They did a good job of it. He got his first one pretty much on a scramble play, like he's been famous for hitting all throughout his career. And he didn't hit another one or hit the record until about 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. All he needed was two. Normally, Curry, you have that two in the first quarter, but the Kings were dead set on stopping him from trying to set that record against them. And I say hats off to him because in this day and age, a lot of times teams will just sit back and let the other teams do whatever they wanted to do. At least the Kings are trying to win. I mean, they're shorthanded right now. They're missing some weapons, and they're just not that strong right now. But at least they're trying to compete. And, you know, if you're going to set the record, go set it against somebody else, not us. But it wasn't good enough because Curry is just that good. Now, he could throw up the shot from all different directions. I've seen him come off screens. I've seen him dribble it up the court. I've seen him catch and quick shoot. When a guy can shoot from 3 or 4 different ways, it's hard to stop him. Generally, you have a set shooter, and if you can get the guy before he gets set, You could throw him off his game or catch a guy in transition, slow him down that way. But you got a guy like Curry that can shoot from pretty much any situation. And what makes him more dynamic than everybody else, once he steps across half court, you got to know where he is because he can hit a shot from very, very far distances. He's done it consistently over his career. Matter of fact, he came on the map when he took Davidson deep into the NCAA tournament. I don't know if he made it to the Final Four, but I know he made it to the Elite Eight. And he made it very interesting because of his ability to shoot the ball. And he brought that to the NBA. And when you start shooting 30, 35 footers, how are you going to defend something like that? When you start to collapse on him, you're just going to pass it to somebody else who's wide open. And the way that they move the ball around at the speed that they do in the NBA, you get out of position, they're going to find an open shooter. And most of those guys in the NBA can shoot pretty well, especially along the perimeter. But I never seen anybody like Curry can shoot that basketball. So if anybody that's going to get anywhere close to breaking records, it should be a guy like Curry. But the question is, again, how can Curry get that record? At 4,000 now, he's got a couple more years. He's probably going to reach at least another 1,000. So I expect that record to go somewhere just north of 5,000 before he decides to call it a career. Only thing that's going to really slow him down is when he start having those nitpicky injuries, and that's not good. But speaking of injuries, I told you guys last week about how everybody was touting the virtues of Auburn basketball and how they were the clear best team in the country. I said I disagreed because it was a team in North Carolina I thought that was clearly better than everybody else, and that's Duke. I don't like Duke, never did, but they can play some basketball, especially this year with that guy Cooper Flag. And I said that the only thing that could stop Duke from threatening to win another championship was if something happened catastrophic. Well, that almost happened the other night. Just like Jalen Brunson came down, the Knicks' Jalen Brunson came down on a defender and turned his ankle, like his season was done. Flag did the same thing. He had to come out of the quarterfinal game against Georgia Tech. And because of that, they don't know when he's going to be ready to get back. So the likelihood of playing tonight in the semifinals against North Carolina is not good. I'm thinking that they're going to keep him out until the second round of the tournament and bring him back then, because that's when they're going to need him. They can get by the ACC tournament. If they lost to North Carolina or not, it doesn't matter, because they're still going to be a number one seed somewhere. They might have to go out west to do it, but they're still going to be a number one seed. And then with the way that they make it real soft for the top teams in the first round, they should be able to get through the first round without Flag. It's the second round. Well, to me, the second round, they call it the play-in games and all that now, first round games. So the Sweet 16 round, how about that? That's when they're going to need Flag. And if he can get back to being close to 100%, then I still think Duke is probably the best team out there. Now it's just going to mean other players are going to have to step up to cover the slack, and they get a chance to work on those roles as they get ready for Flag to come back. JC, how you doing, man? Curry has proven that he can shoot from anywhere on the court. He's tried but have not been successful in stopping him. Well, that's the difference between football and basketball. If you got one guy in football, you can game plan to stop him. If you can't stop him from schematic wise, you can physically stop him. Put a hat on him, slow him down a little bit, cheap shot it, do something. Basketball, you can't do that. You physically beat up a guy in basketball, you're just going to put him on the line for free throws. But football, you can physically stop one person. One person will not beat you in football with the right enterprising game planning coach. But basketball, you can get away with that. It's just the nature of the game. The only way you can really stop a guy in basketball is get him to foul out. And most of the time, if you notice the stars in NBA, they're not going to foul out. But back to Duke. Speaking of Auburn, like I said, everybody was talking about how they were the best team. But since then, they lost a couple of games. They lost to Alabama to close out the regular season, and they lost to Texas A&M. So they were calling the A&M game an upset. A&M was a pretty good team. Now last night A&M went to overtime with their rivals Texas. I didn't catch the final result of that, but Texas A&M seems to be getting better. SEC is actually going to have some strong teams in the tournament this year. Um, I've heard it said that SEC is probably going to have 3 of the final 4 teams. I disagree with that also. It all depends on where you go and who you get matched up with. And as you know, in a one game, basketball is whoever gets the bounce in those crunch times. Officials in the NCAA, I think, are better than the NBA officials because they don't usually be the ones to determine the game. What turned me off from the NBA, they would call a perfect game up to the last 3 or 4 minutes. And then the team that's supposed to win, they start getting all these calls suddenly at the end of the game. How else can you justify certain players going to the line with 0.3 seconds or 0.4 seconds like that when the game's on the line? Case in point, when what's his name for the Heat? Wade went to the line against the Mavericks with less than a second, and that made the difference in the game. And I don't think you should be able to put a guy on the line like that in a current situation. Let them sort it out themselves. But that's the difference again between football and basketball. If a guy like Wade takes you to the hole and he takes the perfect shot, he can still miss. Or you can play the perfect defense to cause him to miss. But even though he missed, he still got the wild card. The referee can say, well, you fouled him. Now you go to the line. Well, if it's 4th and 1 and we're going to run the football in the A gap, linebacker on fullback or linebacker on halfback at the 1 yard line, the referee can't save either one of us. Either I'm going to run you over or run by you, get to the end zone, or you're going to stop me right there. There's no help. Official can't help you in that situation. But in basketball, they can bail you out. And that is, again, is the major difference between football and basketball. Life. Either you're going to do it or not. You got one shot. Football, you got one shot. And the closest thing that the basketball can touch to that is the NCAA tournament, because you can be the best team. If you played a 7-game series, eventually the best team most of the time is going to win that. But a 1-game situation, when everything's on the line, I got one shot. Hell, that's all I need. One shot. Now I got a chance to win this game. But on a series, nobody's going to beat Duke in a 7-game series. But they don't have time to play that in college. But the way they keep extending the number of tournament teams, it might get to the point where they start playing multiple games. But they had about 76 teams now. The best number is 64. And of that 64, you can make that even better than how they do it. If you notice every year, they're always talking about teams on the bubble. Then when the bracket comes out, maybe 12 or 13 seed, maybe a 10 seed. How the hell can you be on the bubble and end up with a seed like that? Bubble teams are the ones that's the last in. So if you got 16 teams, you should be at number 16 if you're truly on the bubble. I'll get more into that later, but I got a reason, feeling why they do what they do. But you're not truly on the bubble if you end up with a 12 or 13 seed or 9 or 10, when a true bubble team should be number 15 or 16. And that's the big difference, or the problem. Only problem I got with the NCAA tournament is how they do their seedings. But back to Curry. Curry, congratulations again for that 4,000 3-pointer. He'll probably get another 1,000. And I don't see anybody touching that anytime soon. At least I probably won't see it. But again, football out trumps basketball. But you have to give Curry his flowers. But the Steelers, I'm trying to figure out what they're doing, man. They let Justin Fields go when running quarterbacks are hot. Evidently, they must have seen something in Fields to make them think that he can't do the job. So they let him walk. Who do they replace him with? They bring back Mason Rudolph. They're also still courting Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is also being courted by the Giants, and he's garnering interest from the Vikings. Now, what better way to piss off Packer fans than for Rodgers to go to Minnesota? Brett Favre did that. He played pretty decent with the Vikings, and it's probably his fault that they didn't get through to the Super Bowl. Because as I always said, Brett Favre is a great player, but Brett Favre also plays for the other team of sorts. He's going to take chances, and when he might come through for his team most of the time, he's going to throw one up that turned the tide of the game. He did that in the playoff game against the Giants with the Packers, and he did it again with the Vikings. I think it was the Saints that knocked him off. So Brett Favre is great, but he's also Brett Favre when you throw one up. Rodgers not quite so. His problem is he's a polarizing figure, and I don't think most teams really want to deal with him. So as he's being courted by the Steelers fans, they're signing off. They say they don't want this guy because Pittsburgh's been the headlines for everything except winning the important games. And I agree. They'll get in there and scrap with you and they'll make it to the playoffs, but then their deficiencies are too much for them to overcome. He worried about all this sideline stuff when Baltimore started running the football on them. You got to find a way to stop that run against Baltimore. And you know how to do it, but can you do it? I was disappointed to see how they approached Baltimore in the playoffs. You can only approach Baltimore one way. You got to stop that run between the tackle. Here they are, like everybody else, that don't play Baltimore that much. You're trying to stop everything at the same time. You can't do that. And you see what happens when you try to do that. They got pretty much blown out in the playoffs. You got to stop Henry first. Then you get on Jackson. Then you make him throw the football. And for him standing back in the pocket to try to beat you, that's not going to happen. Yeah, he has some good throws. He's getting better as a passer. But I'll take my chances on him standing back there in the pocket when he can't run to try to beat me. In Pittsburgh, they know that. But yet, they try to do like everybody else and stop everything and didn't stop nothing. And that's why they was on the couch. They should find a way to fix that. And now you get a quarterback situation where you let your backup quarterback go who could have helped you. And now you might have to end up bringing back Wilson, who, by the way, is courting Cleveland. So they probably lose Russell, and they already lost Fields. You bring back Rudolph, who you shipped off, and now you left the hope if Aaron Rodgers is going to join you, and he's probably going to be the one to disrupt everything you got in your locker room. So it appears to me that Pittsburgh don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to quarterbacks. They ain't gotten it right. Roethlisberger was pretty good for most of his career, but he kind of put him in a bind because he held on too long. And Mike Tomlin, I hope he get it right because I think this is going to be it for him if we don't do nothing this year. Russell Wilson probably will sign with another team. Yeah, he's looking at the Browns right now, and Steelers showing they are more interested in Rodgers. Well, the Giants are offering more money, and I don't think Rodgers is really concerned about money. Brett Favre is urging them to go to Minnesota. Fans say they want Steelers to build around Rudolph, but I don't think Rudolph is the answer. I don't think Rudolph is the guy that. I don't think Rudolph is the guy. He's serviceable. It's kind of like Trent Dilfer. You get him to run a certain offense, he'll make a few throws. He won't get you in too much trouble. But if you hand him the ball and say, you got to take this drive and you got to put it in there to win this game, I don't think he can do that. So it remains to be seen what Pittsburgh does. They always seem to act like they know what they're doing, but you have to really wonder. And we'll see. But just to recap today, and they have a whole lot of time, Aaron Rodgers, Pittsburgh is trying hard to get him. And the Giants offering more money. He also has the opportunity to go to Minnesota, but he's probably somewhere in Costa Rica deciding if he wants to play or not. And if a guy is really serious about trying to play, he need to go up and make up his mind and do something and let these other teams know. Because what's really happening is everybody's waiting for that one domino to fall so they can see how they want to approach this draft that's coming up next month. But of course, he's going to play it all the way out, and he's going to beat around the bush. and you're gonna mess around and be all the way out. And Pittsburgh's gonna be stuck with another subpar quarterback, and it's going to be a similar situation to what they had the last couple of years. Tomlin, as great as he's supposed to be, he got a Super Bowl championship, but it's been a long time since they won big, and he won't be the first Super Bowl winning coach to be shown the door. And it would be odd because Pittsburgh doesn't usually fire their coach. They haven't fired a coach since before they hired Chuck Noll in '69. He ran all the way into the '80s, and you picked up Bill Cowher from him, and then now you got Tomlin. That's a hell of a run without firing a coach. And it's a model that maybe some of these other teams should follow. Give the guy a chance to see what he's going to do. You fire him and you go get a job somewhere else. Because once you lose a job in the NFL, you got that head coach experience. You're going to go do a good job as an assistant and you're going to become a head coach again. Look at Doug Peterson. He won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, got fired there, went to become a coordinator somewhere, got hired at Jacksonville. Now he's been fired at Jacksonville. He's going to be a coordinator somewhere else, and then he's going to come back and get a head coaching job within the next 4 or 5 years. You mark my words. That's just what they do in the NFL. It's a retread system. And because there's only so much talent out there, and the NFL, like I said, is the best when it comes to coaching. You have to be, because all the talent is pretty much equal across the board. But that's just my thoughts on that. But again, Curry, 4,000 3-pointers. I think this is the best shooter the NBA has ever seen. Even though there's been a lot of great shooters over the years, I don't think that nobody can outshoot this guy. He's just that special. But that's just my thoughts on that. But anyway, I appreciate you guys chiming in with me. I hope you like and subscribe. And I'll be back at you in the morning, if not later on this afternoon, with some breaking news to keep you abreast of my opinions of what's going on in the sports world. And Aaron Rodgers, he's on the clock. Let's see what he's going to do. So I got to get out of here. I got to go to work. Last day before I get a chance to take a week off. And I'm looking forward to that because I got some plans, man. Going to do a promotion next week. So we'll be ride sharing and talking to fans about sports and see where we are. Those usually be some interesting conversations. And I'm just going to let it run and we'll see where that takes us. But in the meantime, you guys have a great day. Again, appreciate you stopping by. This is Sports for Real with another AM Sports Bite. Congratulations, Steph Curry. I'm out. Gotta go to work.